I teach my clients to go from this to this more branded looking content using AI without much effort. In this video, I'll show you how. When I work with clients, I start by understanding their work, how they do things, their pain points, and where they actually need help with the AI. I get them to understand how to direct the AI. It's not just about the tools, it's more why use AI and where to actually use it. Which is why I've built an AI version of myself. It's called Goor-AI. It's in my website. So if you go into ai-goor.com, you'll find your AI advisor. It's basically my digital twin. I've built it as an initial discovery chat that I usually have with a client or a prospect to figure out where to use the AI, what AI can do for you and your work and your business. It's free to use. All you have to do is register with your email address. I can reach out to you, or you can reach out to me as well for further discussions, but because of course this is not going to completely replace me yet. So give it a try and let me know how it goes for you. Once I understand my clients' needs, I show them how to build their own AI assistants. So sometimes it could be for content creation, sometimes for planning, writing. One of the most useful ones is Content Creator, a setup inside your language model like ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude to turn your existing ideas into new content. So it could be a different content for different social media platforms, for example, for different marketing or products. I'll walk you through that workflow here. And if you'd like to go deeper into it and understand how to prompt and learn to prompt such an assistant and create your own personalized content creator, I have a course called How to Build Your Own AI Content Creator. I provide you with the prompt builder that creates your own content creator with you. So it's a detailed prompt. I show how I built it and how it works. That allows you to then build your own content creator, saving you many hours and iteration of work. I also do an overview on AI imagery and how to connect those two workflows. I'll link to that course in the description. The funny thing is that most companies and professionals have a lot of content out there that they can repurpose, they can edit for different platforms, different marketing needs, different messaging, but they don't take advantage of this. Earlier, I showed how I advised a client to edit his YouTube channel to make it look more appealing and also have a different language to it. I guided him to build a Gemini gem so that it has a ready-made prompt in the instructions here that will repurpose and build content and write content for him true to his brand, true to his voice. He uses Gemini, but he equally could have used a custom GPT inside ChatGPT or a project in Claude to build this essentially the same thing. If you create the instructions right inside your LLM, you can make it write content and build content true to your brand, true to your voice. I have videos on how to build custom GPTs and projects. I'll link to those in the description and at the end of the video as well. His Gemini gem takes the content from his podcast and can write articles on LinkedIn, which have an AI-generated banner. The gem can also write social media posts. So LinkedIn carousels using a design template on Canva, for example. I gave him my templates on Google Sheets, and basically all he has to do is copy and paste the content into those templates. He just takes his transcript of a podcast episode, and in seconds he has the text for that content written to his requirement, his voice, his brand. He just needs to copy and paste the text that he gets from his gem into a carousel template or into his LinkedIn article. Every client has different needs. I myself am my own client. A few weeks ago, I wanted to add to my YouTube content by posting into different platforms like Instagram, LinkedIn, Substack in a different format. So social media posts and carousels and LinkedIn articles, email newsletters. I wanted to use the content I was creating and repurpose it for those needs. As you know, it takes time to create all this. So I built this custom GPT inside ChatGPT that has a prompt that knows how to take my YouTube transcript and repurpose it and create new content from those. I'll give inputs. I'll just brainstorm and just talk to ChatGPT and just tell it what my ideas are, what my thoughts are. But it'll also combine that with the transcript and write me up a proper article in my voice the way I want it formatted. For example, this video on how to use AI for your creative process, I turned into this carousel and this article and a newsletter. I upload a transcript and I just tell it, here's the script. And the first thing it does is that it asks, what are your core thoughts, takeaways, or implications of this video? How should I shape the tone and content? I asked it to do that so that I give it my feelings, my thoughts, my ideas, what it is I want to generate. And I'll tell it, okay, for the article, I want to do that. For the social media posts, I want to give this kind of angle. I want the carousel to do this for me. And I give it a guideline, a kind of a, let's call it a brief. And then it'll just create the content that I want as I wanted it. Another example, I have this ChatGPT project that has instructions in it that create content for a new mobile application that I've launched with my brothers recently. It's an AI-powered money manager that we built for ourselves and thought we'd release it on the Google and Apple stores. And it helps you track income and expenses, snap or upload receipts. So you use your phone to just snap a receipt and the AI immediately puts that into your records. You can create and share buckets or categories of expenses and income for your personal or business use, even generate invoices and receipts through it. So it's basically a financial manager that's powered with AI. We used ChatGPT and Claude to build it and power the AI within the Otto app. If you'd like to try it out, I'll link to it in the description. So this ChatGPT project I named Otto Content Creator has a built-in prompt in the instructions here. So it's quite a long prompt that tell it how to create content true to the brand of Otto in the same voice, in the same formatting. In order to build this prompt, I created a custom GPT called Prompt Builder for course 1. So this was used for creating that course. I have a conversation with it. It asks me questions about my company, about my brand, my messaging. I give it as much information as I can about Otto, the brand, Otto, the app, its features, its customers, and it will build the prompt that I then paste into my project, into the Otto Content Creator. I go deep into how I build this prompt, and I also give you this prompt so you can actually use it and copy paste into ChatGPT. You can use it in Claude, in Gemini. It doesn't really matter so long as your AI has the context, the role, the actions, the instructions, and also examples of how to generate the content in the formatting and style that you want. I also have added files that are relevant to the brand. So the data, the customer personas, brand book. I gave it some information about the features, about the application, also UI design. So it has a sense of what it looks like, what kind of colors we're dealing with. And I'll show you why that is. Yeah, so now it knows my brand, it knows my messaging. And now every time I want a new content, like in this case, I wanted image style examples, it just knows the kind of style I'm looking for. I can just brainstorm with it, and I'll show you just briefly now how that works. I wanted to do the launch of Otto. I started it by saying, we are launching Otto, and I gave it a brief, what it is I'm trying to aim. I'm going to put posts on Instagram and LinkedIn. I want calls to action. So at the end of every post, I'm asking a reader to download the app, click on something. It already knows what to do. So it generated copy for, let's say, a LinkedIn post, or for the Instagram and Facebook, it gave me the kind of language and the text that I could use there. For the carousels, it broke it down into the 5 different slides that I use. So I use a template that I work to in terms of the LinkedIn and Instagram carousels. I asked it for a newsletter as well. So it wrote me a newsletter. And in this case, the newsletter was of quite, let's call it a bit cold, lacking in character, lacking in approachability, let's call it. So I told it, I said to it, look, I want it to be more of a story. We built it for ourselves, where we wanted to share it with you and have a newsletter that is much more approachable. It was able to just rewrite that newsletter so that it has that kind of approach to the content. It's a very short process now. I use it for my YouTube. I use it now for Otto. And this is also what I recommend to my clients, is to build such an assistant that can generate, even, like I said, LinkedIn articles Now, if we look at my LinkedIn articles, let's go into my LinkedIn quickly. This creativity based on what I showed you earlier, here's an article where the image is AI generated. So I'm just about to kind of talk about that subject. The article is written in the same format as I always write my articles. I'm able to kind of paste it in here in LinkedIn and quickly edit. Of course, that's the goal, is generate me that initial draft of my social media, of any content that I want, and let me quickly edit and give my input. So it's not literally copy and paste and post. It's copy, paste, edit, and post. And that's what I advise everyone to do. Don't just trust the AI to give you content straight out of the box. It's going to make mistakes. So it did make a mistake in one of my articles that I didn't pay attention to. And only a week later, I went in and fixed it because it got some details wrong of a business I had mentioned, which is not a good thing to do as a professional. Read through what it gives you. Make sure that it's correct. It's true to your voice and brand, but also true in the sense of being accurate in terms of information. And AI currently still makes mistakes, so just pay attention. Our job is to fine tune. Our job now is to act as editors and drivers of the AI. The instructions that are built into this project or custom GPT or your Gemini gem is there to drive the AI towards a certain goal. So it's you and your instructions and your communication that drives it in the right direction. Your job is to create that initial prompt, which I go into in my course, then to fine tune and finalize the content so that you can post it on any platform that you want. And Gemini and ChatGPT have an advantage over, say, Claude or Perplexity and Copilot, for example, because this AI assistant has my brand, has all those instructions, and has the context in which it's working, and examples of imagery, I can say to it, hey, can you generate me a design ideas based on the carousel that you wrote, the text that you wrote? Gemini and ChatGPT can generate these images, at least design concepts, that I can then use to go off and actually work on. Because I use Illustrator, I can come into Photoshop, I can generate those designs quickly because it can give me an image like this for a social media post showing a couple that are struggling with their receipts and their finances at the end of the month, and then juxtapose that with them happy watching a movie together because they've got Otto. I had a quick discussion with it where I said, I want a split screen of a couple struggling with their receipts and finances, and on the other side, them just being relaxed and smiling. And it gave me the kind of summary of what it is I'm asking for, which in a way is an image prompt for itself. Yeah, that's it kind of talking to itself in a way, saying, yeah, split screen, left side, a couple at the dining table, right side, a couple relaxed on the couch. It's kind of giving it itself a sense of what this post is about. And I said to it, okay, give me that image in 4.4 to 5 aspect ratio without the text. I didn't want the text, and it generated me this image. And I can do that in Gemini. And I can't do that in the other language models. But I don't only use ChatGPT and Gemini, of course. I continued the conversation, kept generating new content, new images, a lot more kind of back and forth. After a while, the conversation gets long. You'll need to move to another conversation. But in this case, I kept showing it ideas of, for example, my website. I wanted it to look at, and I gave it imagery with text. And I asked it, what do you think about this homepage? And it gave me a good feedback. It said to me, look, you've got what's working well. You've got good visuals. You've got good feature coverage and clear icons, but it reads like a feature list. There's not a journey. There's no emotional hook in this homepage. You're not kind of buying in whoever's going into that homepage. And then it recommended how to fix that. Now, because I built and trained it essentially on my thought process, it's able to give me essentially my own feedback to myself. That's the way I see it. It's my AI assistant that, if I've built it right, thinks like me in a way. And I could also give it a different persona where it's much more skeptical, much less agreeable. You can build that into your prompt so it'll come back and play the devil's advocate all the time. Originally, I had this kind of cartoony images and was basically a carousel that was flipping, that it told me to get rid of or advised me to get rid of it. And I did that. And I'm also, the wording is much more approachable, just looks cleaner. And from my interaction with my AI assistant, my content creator, and we created this story of, why choose Otto, and then tell the story of what to do in order to then download it from the app stores. It's cleaner, it's worded better, it's much more approachable, which is what I wanted. So I gave you examples of how ChatGPT and Gemini can help with imagery. And with imagery, we want stock images, we want graphic designs, flat vector designs, we want logos, we want icons, even video. And ChatGPT and Gemini can provide you that with the context of the AI assistant that you've built, imagery that you can use in the actual content that you're creating. In ChatGPT, I've shown it. In Gemini, it's very similar. Again, if I've built a gem that knows my Otto brand, then I can ask it, let's design a carousel slide, and it'll use my, let's say, bucket designs, because it knows about buckets and categories of finances, splitting up your money into different buckets, so to speak. So it'll use that icon in the designs if I wanted to, and we'll just kind of brainstorm ideas. Or I can create stock imagery. The image generator is actually very good, and you can edit in here using Nano Banana. Just be aware that Nano Banana or the Gemini 2.5 Flash image generator is quite soft. It hasn't got nice, sharp imagery as compared to some of the other image generators, but it is very good at what it does. It's not good at figuring out aspect ratio. So I can't tell it, give this to me in 16:9 aspect ratio. For some reason, it doesn't know how to do that. There's a trick around that, but I can't show that. I won't show that here today. But you can see that I'm asking it, can't you give me that in the 4:5 aspect ratio? And it just wasn't able to. So it gave me this nice, like, dark kind of image based on what I asked for. And then I thought, you know what? Let's make it more of a stock imagery, them in the kitchen, brighter lighting. And it gave me an image that was much better to use. And I kept kind of brainstorming ideas with it. And that's the beauty of working with ChatGPT and Gemini over their competitors. And you can reimagine imagery. So for example, here, I gave it this image and I said, I want them to be younger. I want them to be in a student-like appearance. In this case, for example, he's looking at the back of the phone instead of the screen of the phone. So I just told it, can you change it, please? And it did it. I used Gemini also to create icons. So for example, I said, here's an arrow icon that makes it look like it's kind of drawn or painted. Can you give me examples of it? And then give me a curved one. So if you need design elements, you can come into these two platforms and just kind of ask for it if you give it examples. And it'll be also true to the kind of style that it knows that you want if you've built it right, the prompt. Other platforms that I recommend are, of course, there's Midjourney. I still haven't developed it fully, but I was playing with styles for the Otto brand, seeing if I wanted imagery that was more cartoony rather than just the photographic stock image styles. So in Midjourney, you can train its styles, create a mood board in which that it generates all your imagery from your prompt in the style that you've chosen. And you can see the coloring is more or less kind of even, but it's not a finalized mood board, so it's not something I would use yet. I was also playing with this silly idea of a medieval knight struggling with his receipts and finances just for fun. I'm not going to use this in a social media post. At least I don't think I will. But Midjourney is a good tool. You can edit your imagery. You can reimagine. So you can say, take this image of this laptop and reimagine it in different settings. It's taking the same composition, just reimagining it in different ways. So that's something you can do. You can edit sections in Midjourney and you can change its aspect ratio. You really need to, with Midjourney, you need to know how to prompt it. You need to know the rules within Midjourney to avoid the Midjourney look. Other platforms I recommend, one specifically, which is called Freepik, like its other competitors like Krea and OpenArt, they give you here in your interface, you can generate images and video, and you get multiple image models to use. So for the subscription that you pay for, you get access to multiple models, including the open source, very good open source models like Flux. So Flux has multiple models attached to it. Seedream, the same thing. Very, very good model. ChatGPT model and also Gemini. So you've got your Nano Banana here. So you can do editing in these platforms. They give you access to different styles, different color palettes that you can create for your brand. Characters, so I trained it on myself, but you have access to other characters, so you can train your own characters. You have a lot more control, different aspect ratios. All you have to do is learn how to prompt. And in my course, I give an image prompt guide, and I also share the Adobe guide, and I go deeper into it a bit, kind of not deep into it, because that could be a course on its own. But I really recommend Freepik or Krea or OpenArt as kind of a platform that you get to access all the models and have a good interface so that you can also have your library of imagery that you've generated and be able to just kind of edit them and change them and just work in one single platform. If you talk to your AI assistant, so if I come into ChatGPT and I say to it, I'm using Freepik to generate this image using Seedream, for example, I need a prompt that will do this, this, and this for me. You can generate your prompts here if you give it a good guide. For example, give it the Adobe Firefly prompt guide as a guide and say, okay, build me a prompt on the basis of this to generate an image here in in Freepik or in Firefly. So the next platform that I recommend, if you're an Adobe user, but not necessarily, you can also pay into a Firefly. They have something similar to Freepik. And I've got to say that the model of Firefly has improved. So Firefly 4, Image 4, is actually quite really good now in terms of quality. It's now on par with the other models. You get to create imagery, can create video here. You can create special effects like imagery on transparent backgrounds, which is really useful if you're an Adobe Photoshop user. You can create sound effects. And you can generate a vector. So if you prompt an image here, or a logo of a bird in the sky, it'll generate that vector. I'm just not going to give it any style or any coloring. I'm just going to go based on that prompt. It's going to give me a vector image that I can then upload into Illustrator directly, or I can save it as an SVG file, and that is a vector art. It'll have the gradient built in, and I'll be able to adjust it inside any image manipulation tool like Illustrator. So it's a very, very cool addition to Firefly. You've also got mood boards. So you can create, like here, start a board with your content and create a mood board, essentially. Another one I recommend is called Recraft. And the reason here is, again, you can create vector art and the image models are quite good. They're high quality. I've got a video on that. So all these platforms I'll link in the description. And if you look into some of my videos on my channel, you'll see one of them is about Recraft and how to brand it, how to color it, how to use your styles here. And also here you can generate vector art that you can open in Adobe Illustrator or any of the competing platforms. It's an overview of imagery, of course, because I can't go deep into it. Even in the course, I go into the prompt guide. I show these platforms a bit more in detail, but I could create a course on each and every AI imagery platform. I do share my prompt guide in my course. If that interests you, the link is in the description. The thought process is it's very useful to have an AI assistant here in ChatGPT that knows your brand. So if I go back to Otto Content Creator, here I'm telling it, here's a newsletter. Can you rewrite it for me so that it's much more approachable? That saves me a lot of time. If I'm doing it regularly on a daily basis, I'm saving hours and hours and hours, and it just keeps piling up. If you've got a team going, if you're working as a team, then you can build a custom GPTs here and share it with your team. So the beauty of custom GPTs is they're shareable. If you've built one that has the right prompt built for your company, and you've got a team of 4 people accessing that particular custom GPT, then it multiplies in terms of time saving. If each one has to write their content and they have to be consistent in terms of language, then you can do that. You can also do that now with your Gemini gem. Yeah, so your gems here are now shareable. The same is true with projects in Claude and also spaces in Perplexity. The fact that you can have that content creator inside your language models, inside your AI tools, and you can talk to it about imagery Even though Claude and Perplexity, for example, don't generate imagery, at least not at the level that you can get in ChatGPT and Gemini, you can show them the guides to Firefly. You can give them prompt guides to then write you prompts to generate the imagery either in Firefly or in Freepik and Midjourney. That's the kind of workflow I would look at and figure out which tools you should use, experiment, try them if you haven't already, and find the tool that suits you the most, your needs the most, and don't chase every new shiny ball that comes out, because every 2 weeks something new comes out. A month ago, everyone was talking about Google's Nano Banana image editing capability. Literally a few days passed and Seedream came out with their competitor of Nano Banana, which is better than Nano Banana, with all respect. Flux Context is always improving, the open source world. So if you're going to chase all these different balls, you're just going to waste time. So my advice to clients is always build your AI assistants consistently so that it knows you, that you're driving the language. You choose which platform suits you. If you're a Google user, maybe go to Gemini. If you like ChatGPT, which I do, I prefer ChatGPT to all the others, then that's where I want to work. That's where I'm efficient. So that's what my recommendation is. You build your workflow around these tools, iterate on them. And with image generation, what I do is I do jump around a bit. So I will go from ChatGPT to Gemini to Firefly to Freepik, because each one has their slight advantages or slight quirks that I want to tap into for different types of imagery. If you want to simplify matters, make sure I personally would recommend looking at the multi-purpose or multi-model platforms like Freepik or Firefly. So that's in a nutshell how I kind of approach these AI tools. How, if I know a client needs a content creator like this, then I'll guide them through the process of creating one. I'll first understand what they need, what kind of content are they creating. We go through the process of how do you build that prompt that is true to them, that is theirs, and not generic, and I'm not dependent on ChatGPT's or Gemini's or Claude's generic responses, because those are never adequate. They just don't know who you are. And the goal is, how do you build it for yourself? The same is true with AI imagery. If you're a marketing department, if you're a creative department, if you're working with a designer, find a way to build your visual language that you can then use to generate more imagery that is aligned to that, and connect that with your content creator in your ChatGPT and Gemini or AI language model. This process could be a lot more automated using automation tools. I don't feel like I need it generally. Sometimes I do, and I often think, okay, I need to build a more automated system here. But this alone, this kind of workflow alone, can save you a lot of hours and a lot of thought process. One thing I didn't mention, because ChatGPT and Gemini and the rest are all on your phone, if you've built your prompt and you've got your project going, or your custom GPT, for example, I was in the car and I wanted to brainstorm ideas with it, I just switched it on, put on voice mode, and then just started speaking to it and say, look, I want to target students in universities and I want to talk in that kind of young language, the Gen Z language. Let's start thinking through this, the kind of content we can create together for them. And that becomes a transcript that I can then use to generate new content with. If you want to see how I build, or if you want the prompt itself, how to build your own content creator, and you want to dig deeper into it and how it works, join my course, How to Build Your Own AI Content Creator. Like I said, the link is in the description. And also, if you do want to check out my AI twin or my digital double, then go into Goor-AI and have a quick conversation with it. Tell it what you need, what kind of work you do, and let's see how it responds to you. And I'm just curious to know what you think about it, what your feedback would be on that. So if you found this video helpful, click the like button and do subscribe to my channel for more AI tips and tricks and upcoming news as well about courses and things that I'm gonna have to do videos on Firefly. I definitely have to do one on Firefly, Freepik as well, I think, and just continue sharing. I have an idea also of another similar course that I just built that is also going to be based on a prompt, an assistant that does a specific thing for you. think it's really important, and I'll do a YouTube video on that. So stay tuned. I'm not really sharing what the topic is about, but it'll be more of a general how to direct your AI language model for yourself. And if you want to see how to build your own custom GPTs and monetize them, then click on this video link here. Or if you want to see how to build your own ChatGPT projects and manage them, then click on this video link here.